Today's story took place in Sudan, specifically in Al Manakil. This case was discussed all over Sudan and was a very strange one. The story is about Halima Haroun and took place in 1977. Now, Halima Haroun was one of the most beautiful girls in Al Manakil, and she was not only beautiful, she was ambitious, a very ambitious person. She wanted to complete her studies. Not only that, she wanted to complete her studies and she wanted to travel for further education. Young men all over in Manakil were proposing her every now and then, and she kept on rejecting them. Even her cousins, she also rejected them or declined their proposal. They were deceiving her with money and gold, but nothing mattered when she was not ready for it. Once Abdullah Muhammad Abdullah Adam, a young man the age of Halima, was the son of one of the very noble or notables of the village, notable men of the village. And he was, I would say, he fell ill all at once, just like that. It was strange. His father didn't know what to do. So, of course, he took him to the doctors, and the doctors, after doing all the tests which were required, said, "We don't know what's wrong with your son or what disease he's suffering from. It's weird." So, yes, this man didn't know what was wrong with his son. So he was like, "I will do whatever I can or whatever it takes." Financially, of course, he had no problems at all. So therefore, he started calling doctors from all over Sudan just to see what was wrong with his son. And here, when he was almost, of course, he didn't want to give up as a father. But he couldn't see his son. He thought that he's going to die. Because if he doesn't know what the disease is or what is causing the illness, that's the only thing he can imagine, seeing his son in front of his eyes and cannot do anything. So here, of course, when the friends of his son or the family members used to visit, they said maybe the reason could be that someone has done black magic. I mean, someone has used black magic for your son, because he seems to be a very handsome man and he is from a good family. Who doesn't want to marry him? So maybe a girl, she wants to marry him and therefore she went and did some black magic. I mean, this is kind of a common thing if you don't know. So here the man said, yes, this is the only thing I didn't think about and it can be the reason. So they said, you can bring a sheikh. But sheikh is, I would say, sheikh is someone who would read the holy verses and make the person feel better or can help. But he knew, someone said that I can bring a magician instead who can actually tell us who has done such a thing. I mean, with all due respect, of course, a sheikh cannot tell who had done it because it's something which is only in the hand of God Almighty. But if he says, the magician, of course, he can find out who has done it, actually. Or maybe, but in wrong ways again. And it is not the right way, I'm telling you. So they got a magician, but it was, I would say, more of a swindler magician than an ordinary magician. So they got this magician, and here the magician said, listen, I'm capable of helping you, but you have to do what I say, word by word. He said, of course, I'll do the impossible. Can't you see my son is going to die? So, of course, they got he said that you have to put your son in, I would say, a patio or something, and ask the villagers to enter the house, go over him, or walk over him, and go pass through the other door. Enter from one and exit from the other. And the boy would be in the middle. So he said, okay, I will ask the villagers to do so. When he said that all the villagers here, all the people in Al Manakil have to come, or the village that is, and people were really shocked and they don't believe. There are people who don't believe these things. So they rejected. But he said, if you don't come, I would consider that you're the one who has done it. So they said, why do we have to get in problems? We'll just go walk over his son and exit from the other door. That's it. That's what we have to do. So, of course, they did it. And all at once, people started entering from one. And, as I said, leaving from the other. Halima here, it was her turn. And she started walking. And as soon as she wanted to leave the boy, here the boy grabbed her leg. When he grabbed the leg of Halima, and this boy can hardly move, it was like a sign for the father. Here the father said, "Stop," he said, "everyone, leave right now." And the magician, the swindler, of course, the swindler magician said that now ask everyone to leave, and we know that this is the girl, this is the person we are looking for. The mother here, of course, the mother of Halima, she said, "Leave my daughter. And I'm not going to leave my daughter here, and that's it." But the father, he said, "Count on me. I'm just going to do what the sheikh or what the magician is saying, and I'll leave. I'll leave her." Halima was actually screaming. She was screaming. She was shocked that why would this man here, lying on the floor, grab my leg? So the magician here asked the father to get a whip and start flogging the girl that is beating her. And he did say that you have to beat the girl until she starts bleeding and take her blood and wipe it on your son so that he gets better. The father here went inside and got a whip, which is his old, very old leather whip. And he started flogging the girl. He started beating her so badly, the girl was screaming. And he actually started hitting everywhere, on her face, on her neck, literally distorted her. And there was, of course, blood. And the girl was screaming. He took the blood and he started wiping it on his son. The girl, maybe she somehow fainted after getting beaten in such a way. But the father, of course, the boy was also screaming. But maybe that time the father didn't notice that. As soon as he started taking the blood and wiping all over his son, maybe he noticed that, oh my goodness, after wiping this blood, it's true. This magician here, each word and every word he said is true. Because my son is actually screaming and he's feeling better already. But what happened to Halima? Halima died. She was dead. Now, when the son was screaming, he was actually literally trying to defend he was trying to stop his father from hitting Halima. But after bruises and after severe bleeding, he stopped. Now, a whip, I would say, is not a weapon. It's not supposed to be used, but it's not a weapon as it is used for torture. But it can kill. Can it? There's something called hemorrhagic shock. Hemorrhagic shock is something, I would say, where a severe blood loss leads to inadequate oxygen delivery at cellular level, and that can cause a person's death. Now, this is something which we would call a misfortune event, an event which could be unexpected. No one could believe, first of all, that in any situation, one could actually say that the person has to be, the problems can be fixed by a magician, because magic is used for evil purposes and selfish purposes overall. Why would you take help of a warlock or a swindler magician anyways? Why would you do that? The boy here, he, of course, when he was crying, and the police here, of course, took the body to the forensic department. The body was taken to the forensic department, and his father was arrested. Now, the father said that Mohammed Abdullah, he said during the investigation that his intentions were not to kill the girl. It was to torture her or to hit her until she could bleed, because the swindler magician asked him to. But again, he said he had no idea whatsoever. During the investigation, when the father confessed, the boy here was also asked that what was the reason that he was screaming and crying. So here he said, because he actually collapsed, he was in grief and sadness. Of course, the girl died in front of his eyes. He would be in grief, or he would be in, I would say, in a state of shock. The reason was, of course, more shocking than anything else could have happened. He said that he is the reason behind all of this. He's the one to be blamed, not his father. Why would he, if he was ill, if he was sick? Why would he take the responsibility of Halima's death? Why would he? He said that he actually liked Halima from a long time. And he did propose her, but she rejected, as she has rejected many other young men. But he couldn't accept this. He really wanted to marry her. So he thought that there would be a plan. He planned this whole thing with his friends. One of his friends was actually, he said, I'll be the magician, the required magician for the whole act. So they planned together. Of course, part of the plan was to get along with his friend, and one of his friends did say that I'll be the magician, and that was like helping him, but he did pay his friend to do so, as it was planned. And the intentions here again, or the deal and the agreement was to do something that would make Halima, the others think that Halima is not fit to be a wife anymore. And that way, her parents will force her to marry whoever comes first, and he would be the first one to propose her, as she was the one who actually wanted to marry him and did the black magic or whatever, as they said before. Everything was unexpected. The father here felt deceived. The father here knew that he was so worried about his son who was about to die, as he thought, and did the impossible and to find a cure. So it was all an act. The trust he had in his son just went away. And who was the victim? Halima was the victim. Of course, now he knows that his son was not only a liar to deceive him, he was also a very selfish person. The only thing he thought about was himself. Of course, as I said, the family here, Halima's family, Halima Harun's family, regretted every moment at the point that when Halima was involved, or when they said that she was the one to do black magic, the father here said what happened to her was for the best. Even when she died, he thought that this is the end of anyone who does magic. At any point, try to do your best that you don't go wrong, because regret is something you don't want to end up with, which will live with you all your life. Halima died, and the father of the young man, was sentenced to prison for 14 years. On the other hand, Muhammad Abdullah and his friend were sentenced to 4 years of imprisonment. That's it, and thank you for listening.